today I have an interesting question for you guys.
Oh, snap.
Men versus women, right? All right. Who gives up the most in relationships? Is it the men? Is it the women? Where do you stand on this?
I can tell you my perspective looking in from the outside.
Well,
Go
yeah, but
ahead,
I mean, you've
let's
been
hear
in
it.
relationships, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So, um, yeah.
So when I look at relationships, I've seen where sometimes women have given more than the man has given, and I've seen the man has given more than what the woman has given. Um, and just circling back to my childhood, my grandparents, seeing my grandma, she didn't, I feel like she gave up her life. She got pregnant when she was 15. She got married when she was 16. Um, she dropped out of school, ended up getting her GED. She never really went back and, fulfilled her dreams. So I honestly feel like in their situation, I feel like she gave up more than what my granddad did. And I feel like my granddad stepped in and made sure that she never needed or wanted for anything. So I feel like it balanced out.
I can see that.
I
So,
do kind of feel like women sometimes can tend to give up more in relationships, but I feel like that's because a lot of women are nurturers to a degree. Not all women, but a lot of women are, and I think we do a lot of bending in order to ensure everyone else's comfortability, happiness, things of that nature. In terms of relationships, I also think that because of that same thing, women can tend to be the ones to give up more. I think that I don't know, sometimes I feel like this could be a subjective discussion.
and maybe it is.
Because I do think that there are a lot of men who probably do have to give up a lot, but I think that it also kind of depends upon what we're talking about when we say giving up. Like, what are we giving up, and what has to be given up in a relationship, really? You know what I mean? Like, are we does you know what I mean? Like, I guess
I get what you mean. I think so. As I'm asking myself this question, right? I'm feeling like men take on a lot of
So,
pressure
mhm.
and bondage. You know what I mean? Whereas women do give up and sacrifice a lot of themselves personally for the greater good of a relationship or a marriage. So what do I mean by this? So for example, with men, they take on the added pressure of making sure that they provide for, protect not just themselves but their significant other. If they decide to expand the family, then to the children, so providing for, protecting, and that is all covered under the umbrella of even like so much as making sure that your wife's gas tank is full, and making sure her oil's changed and her tires changed and the lawn is cut and the trash is taken out, and that you make a decent income to provide for your family, and they don't have to go hungry or miss any bills. Y'all help me out. What's the other stuff that men do? You know what I'm saying? Don't let me forget it, okay? Because I could get in trouble, okay, if I don't say everything. So help me remember. But my
Well,
point is that I feel like as men, they do take on a lot of added pressure when it comes to entering relationships and making sure that they do their part. You know what I mean? And as far as women, I do feel like we as women give up a lot. I mean, we give up our bodies. You know what I mean? We give up our dreams, we give up our goals, and so do men, let me say that. But we give up our names, you know. And in a sense, we give up our legacies and we attach our legacies to a man, you know, in terms of marriage. Like, I feel like we give up our minds in terms of being the household admin, you know, being the manager of everybody and everybody's schedules, and making sure that not only do we manage schedules, but we manage healthcare. You know what I'm saying? We manage food, we manage transportation. We also give up a lot to invest in the betterment of our families. And so I feel like this is one of those things where it is subjective and it's very tough to really pick a side if you consider yourself to be objective, because in order for these marriages, these families, these relationships to work, both men and women have to give up and sacrifice a lot to invest in them.
You know you know what word is popping out at me? Instead of giving up, I feel like it's more so compromising. And you have to be willing to compromise some things. Some things have to be put on hold, you know, just based off of how we live our lives. And if you're living life one way and a compromise comes into play, it's not the end of the world. You can always go back. It's just in that moment, you have to focus on the now.
Yeah.
And our lives are rearranged, and it's not about us. It's about our source, whoever your source is, whether that be universe, God, whatever your source is. So
I agree with
You know,
that.
Bonnie, I'm really glad that like you said that, because I was searching for the word in my mind. I'm like, there's got to be another word for this, because I don't know, giving up just doesn't necessarily sit right with me in some ways, because
It does have a negative connotation.
it's a mindset. I mean, I feel like if you were in the mindset of like, I gave up so much for this,
Yeah.
what that can make somebody resentful. You know what I mean? To me, it just feels like a lot of these things that we're talking about seem like natural parts of being in a relationship. So I feel like if somebody's coming from this mindset of, I have given X, Y, Z, in order to be in this relationship, okay, what is compromise and what is giving up? You know what I mean? Like, do you really feel like you sacrificed, or do you feel like, no, I what I did was I compromised, I transformed a little bit here, I rearranged something about how I go about doing certain things in order to do this. To me, I don't know, like you're saying, Brittany, I think like sometimes giving up feels like it has a negative connotation.
Okay.
That can cause resentment at some point if you feel somehow unfulfilled in a relationship. And I don't know that should be the case. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that should be the case. Like,
but I mean, even though it does come with a negative connotation, like, in a certain sense, just to kind of stay grounded in reality, maybe these are things that people should ask themselves before committing themselves is, am I willing to give this up? If this is something that I may have to endure or be without for the duration of our relationship in order for our relationship and our family to work, am I truly willing to do this without resentment? And if I'm not, then that's a clear indication that we may not be in enough alignment to consider marriage. And that's okay. I think people just need to realize that when things are not working or not working exactly how we envision or imagine, that it's okay, because all things work out for our highest good. And we always see that in hindsight, whenever we think about past situations and things that we really were trying to force and make happen, and we really wanted to work out, or to go a certain way, and it truly did not. And we look back and we're like, okay, now I get why it had to happen this way. If we can adopt that mindset and forward thinking, you know what I mean, then we don't have to settle for situations that aren't good for us. If we're willing to really have those honest conversations with ourselves and be honest.
Yeah. And I also look at giving up as that's a decision you make. When you give up on something, it's because of you. It's not because of the person.
It's a choice. Like
Choice.
choice. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it kind of comes down to. I think it is a choice. It is, and to some extent, a mindset. But I guess for me personally, I choose not to look at things as though I'm giving up something, but more so compromising something in order for the allowance of fluid momentum, you know. Exactly. Like I mean, because you could put that same aspect to a relationship if you had kids, you know what I mean? You could be like, I gave up a lot for my kids, which a lot of people say. But again, it's a choice. You know what I mean?
And truly.
I gotta send y'all this video of Eartha Kitt had did video, and it tickled me. I'm like, she right though. She's like, I don't compromise.
Oh yeah, Eartha Kitt, she's the queen of controversy, and I love it. Like she has this really funny way of turning concepts upside down and making you look at something from a totally different perspective and make you question, why do you care so much about things being a certain way? And I love it because I feel like all of our beliefs should be challenged to some degree so that we can know why we stand on what we believe.
Yeah. And I do think, you know, kind of a little bit to what you were saying, Lonnie, I do think it's important for you to have those conversations with yourself about whether or not this is something that you are willing to compromise, sacrifice, whatever, you know, like I don't necessarily stand behind giving up, so to speak, aspects of who you are for other people. But I do think that there are certain things that do need to happen in order to maintain balance in a connection, in a relationship. And I don't, to be honest, in terms of gender, since we're talking men versus women, it's hard for me to say like who does that more, because I feel like a balanced relationship should have an equal amount of that, but that's in an ideal world, and we don't always live in an ideal world. So from an outside looking in, you know, perspective, I still feel like women take the brunt of having to do a lot more.
Okay, so with that, Ava, let me ask you this. Who do you think benefits more?
Oh, the men.
In relationships. Do you think it's the men or the women?
Well, actually, hold on.
It just,
Gosh, this is another trick question, because I feel like it really depends upon the happiness of a person, because somebody can sit here and be giving a lot into a relationship, but if that other partner does not truly value or are not really happy with how things are, then it doesn't matter how much that person does, they may still not truly see the benefit in it. Not to say that they don't benefit from it, but they may not see that they're benefiting from it.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a hard one. I think that's a hard one. I feel like that's really subjective, to be honest. Like, I wanted to say I think men benefit more, but
I feel like
I think it depends on the relationship.
It depends on the people, because if I'm compromising this and you're giving me more than what this is worth to me, then you're clearly doing more than what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in a lot of relationships where I've put the most effort into the relationship, for sure. And for sure, my other person like benefited from that, but I did not get much in return for that, which sucks. So from a personal perspective, like, and knowing other friends who've gone through a similar thing, that's why I think I would naturally just be like, oh yeah, men benefit more. But I don't know on a statistic level, because like I said, I do think it varies from relationship to relationship. You can have people who sit here thinking that they are doing the most, and really aren't. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna say that truthfully, if I'm just being honest, I believe that that men do benefit more, generally speaking, in relationships, just across the board. However, I don't think it's always by a landslide. Like, that is not to say that men are not a part of that experience as well, where they're the ones that don't benefit as much in the relationships. Like, I feel like that needs to be acknowledged and talked about too, because it's important and it really happens. So although I do feel like men generally benefit more in relationships, I do feel like that we need to recognize that there are more common occurrences than we may want to talk about, where it is opposite, where it is the women that are benefiting more in relationships and the men are not getting much in return. That's really what I think.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
That was deep.
Really?
Yes, that was deep.
Snaps.